Hello everyone. Actually, we were just thinking about it, and considering that the oceans are definitely larger than the land on Earth, shouldn't our planet be called Sea Sphere rather than Earth? If so, how about a closer look at the world when dinosaurs existed? This is a journey that traces the life of dinosaurs on Earth, from their birth to their tragic end in the famous meteorite impact. We will also look at how the entire planet has changed, and what kind of creatures lived with the giant lizards. Is your interest piqued? Then let's get on with it. The Triassic Period. Scientists divide the entire geologic history of the Earth into several eras. For example, we are living in the Cenozoic Era, which began 66 million years ago. On the other hand, dinosaurs lived during the Mesozoic Era, which consisted of 3 subperiods: the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. The Triassic and the Mesozoic, which included the Triassic Period, began about 252 million years ago, after the Paleozoic period ended, with the Permian period. The turning point of the era was the nightmarish extinction that occurred at the end of the Permian. For some reason not clearly understood, a huge number of species that lived in the sea and on land became extinct. Large vertebrates were particularly hard hit. Some of the animals at the top of the food chain during the Permian period, such as Paraptilia and the giant Theraspoda, as well as many other species, have completely disappeared. Scientists estimate that it took about 30 million years for the lost biodiversity to recover. The extinction also changed the hierarchy in the ecosystem. The survivors of the previously top-ranking Therapsida were forced to live miserably as small, nocturnal predators and carrion eaters throughout the entire Mesozoic era, and global dominance gradually shifted into the hands of the reptiles. One of the few large vertebrate species to escape extinction is the main Archosauria, reminiscent of a crocodile or a giant lizard. And it is precisely these that became the ancestors of the dinosaurs. The oldest representative of this venerable family is the Eoraptor. Triassic dinosaurs were generally far from the giant lizards that the term implies. The aforementioned Eoraptor and similar Lagarpetidae and Lagosuchidae were small, fast-moving reptiles that chased prey as small as themselves, naturally intimidated by larger predators. Dinosaurs at that time lived in fear of other larger reptiles, such as Ornithosuchus and Ethosaurus. So, what did the Earth look like at that time? In the Triassic period, the supercontinent Pangaea, which stretched from the North Pole to the South Pole, was not yet broken up. The climate was warm and very dry, and most of this single-connected supercontinent must have been covered with deserts and semi-deserts. However, there were of course many green plants. There grew ferns, cycads, conifers, and other primitive plants. It was a much more diverse world than it is today, when the rise of angiosperms has regulated other species to parts of the biosphere and forced them to adapt to new environments. The continent of Pangaea was surrounded by the endless sea, Panthalassa. There was an inland sea, the Paleotethys Sea, which was also teeming with life. Giant aquatic reptiles, such as the Nothosaurus and the first Plesiosauria, dominated the sea, and shallow waters were inhabited by 2-meter-long Placodontia. Jurassic Period. The Jurassic Period began with a mass extinction, as usual, 201.3 million years ago. Although not as massive as that of the Permian, the impact on the biosphere was still profound. On land, many species of reptiles, amphibians, monarchs, and plants became extinct in less than 10,000 years. Marine life also suffered. And sometime after the extinctions, another major event occurred. The supercontinent Pangaea began to break up into the continents of Laurisia and Gondwana. These two events brought change to the Earth again. The Jurassic Period can truly be described as the beginning of the dominance of the dinosaurs. The extinction of the large terrestrial reptiles that had competed with them during the Triassic Period allowed them to fit comfortably into the vacancies in the ecosystem. During the Jurassic Period, famous dinosaurs such as Diplodocus, Brachiosaurus, and Apatosaurus were roaming around. But these giant dinosaurs were all herbivores and were not an immediate threat to humans. The only danger, if any, would be inadvertently being trampled. In addition to the herbivorous sauropoda, there were also dinosaurs belonging to the carnivorous theropoda. Allosaurus, Ceratosaurus, Monolophosaurus, etc. They lived by hunting a variety of preys. They may have preyed on larger members of sauropoda. On the other hand, during the Jurassic Period, amphibians became much smaller. They existed from the Carboniferous period onward as large creatures similar to modern crocodilians. During the Jurassic, however, the Temnospondyli, a group of amphibians, became almost completely extinct, with many amphibians transforming into the frogs and newts of today. Among the interesting creatures that lived during the Jurassic Period was that famous Archaeopteryx. There is still controversy among scientists as to whether this little creature could actually fly, and if so, how it was able to do so. In any case, we should consider the Archaeopteryx as a type of ancestor to the modern birds. It seems that pterosaurs occupied the position of flying animals that could freely flap their wings in the sky in the ecosystem of that time. These pterosaurs, which had already appeared at the end of the Triassic Period, reached their heyday during the Jurassic Period. All kinds of species existed among them, including land dwellers, sea dwellers, carnivores, and carrion feeders. The variety of species is so great that we could make another video. The Jurassic Period is also thought to be the time when the first mammals emerged from the aforementioned Therapsida. But since they were very small and few fossils have been found, we were unable to introduce what they looked like. Perhaps they resembled modern small rodents, such as mice and squirrels. Also, like today's platypus and echidna, which retain most of the characteristics of their distant ancestors, ancient mammals seem to have laid eggs. The Cretaceous Period. The Cretaceous is the last and longest period of the Mesozoic Era. It began 145 million years ago and lasted until the meteorite impact 66 million years ago. During the early Cretaceous, the Earth cooled somewhat, with frequent cold winters in the high latitudes, but then warmed again. The continents of Gondwana and Laurisia gradually broke apart, and by the end of the Cretaceous period, each continent looked much like it does today. However, there were still some areas that did not match, such as Europe being a large archipelago. The Cretaceous was the peak of evolution for the large reptiles, and the climax of their long dominance over the entire ecosystem. This was the Cretaceous, when Tyrannosaurus and Diplodocus roamed the land, pterodactyls soared, and Plesiosaurus ruled the seas. Dinosaurs also inhabited the polar regions during the cold season. Possibly, they hibernated in winter, or perhaps they were well protected by their feathered skin. Scientists now believe that many dinosaurs may have been clad in magnificent feathers at the time. Mammals also evolved steadily, and birds appeared. Most of them, however, seem to have lived mainly on land. Some scientists now believe that birds are not merely descended from lizards, but are descended from dinosaurs, which belong to the real Ornithischia. In other words, the sparrows and pigeons flying past your window right now could possibly be relatives of Tyrannosaurus. Also, modern-day angiosperms appeared in the Cretaceous period and quickly spread throughout the world. And, in the bushes, small mammals, probably including primate ancestors, chased their prey. In other words, the world at this time was a curious mix of Mesozoic oldness and newness that was already reminiscent of the modern natural world. We are almost at the end of today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. The three eras of the Mesozoic era are so fascinating that we could have a separate video for each. Please let us know if you are interested in not only dinosaurs, but also mammals, the first birds, pterosaurs, giant amphibians, the first flowers, and many other episodes. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, rate us highly, and share us on your social networking sites. Your cooperation is the very source of our channel's growth and evolution. Well, goodbye for a little while, but see you again. Bye!